Okay, Claire.
Okay. So
I think you can begin, and there's still people coming. Totally, we have 200 people, and we have 40 people.
So we will start because it's already 4:35. So hello everybody. Bonjour. Tajahao. Guten Tag. Welcome. Today is Arbor Day in China, 植树节. And to celebrate this, we will speak about food forest, a concept which is rising more and more attention in many parts of the world. Please don't share the screen when I'm talking, Linjie. Yeah, I need to share. Yeah, thank you. So my name is Claire. I'm a co-host for today. You can see my screen now. I'm from France, and today I represent TESFEC, a French-Chinese association promoting green cooperation in both France and China through educational activities, webinars, and social and community-based initiatives. And a few years ago, I was so excited to discover that there are more than 7,000 edible species in temperate climate and more than 12,000 in tropical climate. It looks like I miss so many delicious food in my daily diet. That's why I got interested in this topic, and then I got the opportunity to work for 3 years in a Taiwanese NGO to develop 4 public food forests in urban areas. So we are together for 1 hour. We will listen to several speakers in order to give an overview of food forests worldwide, show the current dynamic, accelerate exchanges, do some networking, and we hope to motivate people to start their own food forest. So you are welcome to interact in the chat and to write some questions to our speakers. We got more than 200 people registering today for the talk. Maybe it's a bit late in some part of the world, so not everybody is connected, but the talk will be broadcasting again on YouTube. And also on the Chinese media Bilibili. We have the Chinese translator in the chat doing the translation from English to Chinese. And today I'm very happy to co-host this dialogue with Stefan from Germany. He's the founder of Collective Green. We met together in Taiwan, and we organized many events together about food forest, fermentation, and we also investigate about social fermentation. So Stefan, I will let you introduce yourself as well as our 3 speakers of the day.
Okay, thanks, Claire. So let me just share my screen. 1 second. Okay, so I hope you can all see my screen now. So that's basically me. I am today's co-host. My name is Stefan and I'm from Germany. And as Claire just mentioned, I'm the founder of Collective Green, basically a blog on green topics. And now in the following, I want to introduce our speakers today. So the first speaker is Lincoln Smith from the US. And he's a founder, designer, and instructor at Forested, an educational forest garden in Bowie, Maryland, in the USA. He creates and designs forest gardens for homes, commercial properties, and public spaces. And you can also check out forested.us. And the second speaker is Cheng Qiu, who is from China. She's a researcher, practitioner, educator, speaker, and writer on sustainable agriculture and food systems. And she's the first doctoral fellow in food studies at New York University from China. And she's the founder and CEO of Food Forested. And the third speaker is Thomas Regnault from France. He's a director and filmmaker and a specialist about food forests in France. And he also runs a food forest in Brittany. And you might know him from some of his movies about food forests. And now, very briefly, I want to give an introduction on food forests. So what food forests or forest gardens or agroforests actually are systems which are basically self-regulating and resilient ecosystems with food forest-like ecosystem services. And as you can see here, they contain different layers. And on the right side, you see a picture how these different layers work together so that you have different fruits or vegetables from canopies to the vertical layers. And what's also super interesting is about food forests that they can basically be implemented anywhere. They can be in the countryside, but as you see on these pictures, they can also be in the city center. And on the left side, you see two pictures of a very ordinary city park, which was actually transformed into a food forest in Taiwan. And food forests are always multifunctional spaces. So besides food production, you also have education, environmental quality, recreation, and community. So here you see some pictures what food forests can provide, like, of course, different fruits and vegetables, but also space for activities, for people to get together, and they are just absolutely sustainable. And I think more details we will get from today's speakers. So I suggest that now we just start to talk about food forests, and therefore I invite all the speakers to share their slides. So per person, they have about 7 minutes to introduce themselves and give us an idea about how they are working with food forests. So first, I would like to invite Lincoln to share his slides.
Okay, thanks, Stefan. I will share my screen here. Can you see it?
Yes.
Excellent. So yeah, I'm in Bowie, Maryland, which is near Washington, D.C. in the eastern United States. And I have a forest garden that is 9 years old now, and it is 10 acres, about 4 hectares. And for me, the reason for a forest garden is that the ecosystem type that we have in this part of the world is this wonderful forest. So we need to grow our food in harmony with this forest, making use of the forest and integrating ourselves with it, rather than remove the forest and grow our food, so that we can restore ecosystem function and give people better quality food than we're getting from regular agricultural practices. So the site is growing up. It is, this particular place was a cornfield, corn or maize, before I began the project. And then there's another portion of the site that was an existing wild forest. So we have different approaches to creating a forest garden here, or food forest, depending on whether it was a field or a forest before we began the project. We grow a variety of different fruits, vegetables, mushrooms, herbs, nuts. Some of our plants, like the nut trees that we planted at the beginning of the project back in 2012, we are only just starting to get our very first few nuts, like the pecan nut or walnuts. They take a long time, but we have been getting good, some other good harvests already, and looking forward to more as it gets older. We collaborate with a chef in DC and different people who are excellent on preparing cuisine to showcase the foods that the forest can produce. And this has been a wonderful thing for us to participate in. Myself, I love to grow the plants and harvest the fruit, and I'll eat just about anything. but it takes this chef to take a weird fruit that we grow, something that people have never seen before, and make it into something wonderful. So we have just a variety of different things, and this is very popular. People love to come to these dinners, and this is an example of the food. This is acorn falafel. So the acorn, maybe somebody can give the other words for it, from the fruit of shen. Anyway, it's a food around here in the US. People don't know that acorn is edible, but we have an enormous amount of acorns everywhere here. So we're relearning how to use the fruits of this ecosystem to create all kinds of things. That's a passion flower, which is edible there. So we do the dinners. I also get to design food forests, as Stefan mentioned, for public sites and private. And this is a growing movement where I have gotten to work with many different governmental organizations to create food forest parks around the city. And this can provide an important opportunity for the people in those neighborhoods to reconnect with their food source. And it's really fun to go there and find the kids and their parents like eating a lot of berries or just enjoying the space. Ecosystem services and the restoration of wildlife habitat is an important part of why you would want to do a food forest. And it has been a great pleasure to me to see the number of different kinds of birds and insects and wildlife start to come up in the forest garden in Bowie since I began the project. So that bird in the middle, for example, that's indigo bunting. We didn't see those anywhere at the beginning of the project. But after a few years, when we're starting to create better habitat, you start to see these birds come into the landscape. We grow as large a variety of different flowering plants as possible because it supports the insects that keep the system in balance. They provide pollination. The predator insects will take care of your pest insects. And for this, we need a large diversity of flowering plants. And it has been amazing. Like there are many people that seem to enjoy this. So the movement is growing quickly in the United States. It is still very small, but there are many people that contact me all the time. We have had thousands of visitors to this forest garden coming from around the area, and there are new small forest garden projects popping up everywhere around the area. So I think we have a lot of work to do, but it is coming along. I think I'm not keeping track of my time, but I think I'll just show you a couple fruit pictures and then I'll let the next speaker. Sorry, Stefan, what did you say?
You are in time. You are doing well.
I'm in time? Okay, thank you. Just a couple of pictures. This is called a pawpaw. It's not the same as papaya. This is a native fruit here. Again, it grows all over the place here and nobody knows about it. Like we Americans are very ignorant for the most part about what kind of fruit the ecosystem wants to produce here. But it is a lovely fruit that has many uses. This is our local passion flower. Again, wonderful. You can eat the shoots, you can eat the flowers and the fruit. And as a medicine, it is actually anti-anxiety. So I love to include this plant when I design gardens, like for schools and stuff like that, because right now we have an epidemic of anxiety among our children, especially among teenagers, perhaps because of social media or who knows what all the reasons are. But I love that these gardens and these plants can potentially help people with the live better and less anxious lives. Black raspberry, another wonderful thing. This plant can grow in some amount of shade. That's always nice when you can find a berry that will still produce in that lower layer of the forest garden. Like as Stefan was mentioning, the layers, a lot of these berries, they like some sun, but this one can take a little bit of shade and still produce fruit. Chickasaw plum, this is a fun example because there's no disease problems at all with this native plum. It's native here. I tried to grow the bigger plums. They always have every problem here. So we try to grow everything, but very many times the local native fruit is easiest to grow. And the chef has figured out how to cook these into wonderful foods. We grow chestnuts. We're waiting for the comeback of the American chestnut, which was wiped out by a blight. But meanwhile, we can grow the Chinese chestnut, which is a wonderful food. And we also produce mushrooms. Wine caps are a fun one to try because you just cultivate them in wood chips. All you need is some chipped wood and shade, and they start to produce. So
I think you have to come to an end, Lincoln.
Okay, I'm done. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's a quick overview of what we're doing here.
Great.
Thanks,
a
Stefan.
lot. So next, I would like to invite Chiu Cheng to share her slides. Cheng Chiu. No, Chiu Cheng, sorry.
That's okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you and we also see your slides.
Oh, how can I make it big? Okay. So I began with this photo of me volunteering in Lincoln's forested farm in 2015 to 2016. So I was actually originally an economist, and I worked in Washington, D.C. on policy research of global food systems. And then learned about agroecology, permaculture, and now I'm studying anthropology, political ecology at New York University, PhD in food studies. So I'm a cross-disciplinary.
I think it's not working, your screen sharing.
It's just
Maybe
black.
you choose the wrong window. Yeah, now it's okay. Yeah.
Maybe you just stay in this mode.
Yeah.
We can see it.
Okay.
I think this is perfect.
So I'm an educator and campaigner for holistic well-being of people and earth, and I do cross-disciplinary researcher. So not only doing scholarly research on China's eco-agri-food systems transformation and the food culture, agricultural, and the human-nature relationship using food as a lens. But also I'm an activist and campaigner working on China's sustainable eco-agri-food movements. So I would love to begin with two questions for all our audience, because as a political ecologist, I research first the ideas of nature. Everyone views nature differently. And that's very important for how we understand human-nature relationship. So what is nature? And how is nature viewed by your culture? And how is nature treated by your culture? And you could think about that from your own perspective. And likely, ideas of China. So when I say China, everyone has different image or imagination of China. So what is China? Some people may think about China as People's Republic of China, which was founded in 1949. But China has also a very long history of about 5,000 years. So what is China, and how is China reported by and viewed in your cultures? So this is questions for all our audience, and I will talk about my perspectives as relevant to the food forestry movement in China. And I feel very honored to represent China because China is such a big and diverse territory of land. And currently I live in Hangzhou, this red point near the East China Sea. So China looks like a big chicken in our history teaching. It's very, very diverse in terms of the geography and the culture, different areas of people. even just for food, different regions eat different food and different climate geographies. So talking about the food forestry movement, as a researcher, I find maybe for our audience, you would be interested to know why China is having this food forestry movement. More and more food forests, forest gardens are being established in rural countryside of China, as well as in urban China. And a lot of new farmers near big cities are going back to land to do alternative food networks and to link food using agroecology, organic agriculture with the urban people. So the food forestry movement is coupling with several aspects. According to my research, I find a lot of people in China are yearning to go back to land, to seek self, and to seek home or homeland. And this is related to finding their identities and looking for belongings and finding their belongings in communities. And this is relevant to awareness from the Chinese people on the ecological destructions, because food, soil, and water and a lot of human health in China are destructing due to the rapid eco-socio-cultural transformation due to urbanization and modernization very rapidly just over the past few decades. And this is not the China's problem, because this is this globalized capitalism as a world economy, very aggressive and very extensive and coming to China. And China is just a big area, very populated, and a lot of labor, a lot of environmental resources. So there are these critiques on modernization and all this awareness as relevant to health and environmental importance. So ecological civilization, all these are being in high demand in China, and a lot of people are working on that to improve China's environment. And the third point is that there is truly strong demand for nature education, 自然教育 in China, due to nature deficit disorders. Chinese parents really care their children to be nurtured well, and they think in nature they can be raised well. But now in cities, it's skyscrapers and very lacking trees. So demand for nature education is also a point. So how is China food forested historically? So Stefan has provided permaculture principles and food forests, but I would like to highlight that historically, smallholding Chinese farmer families had often managed their lands as food forests or forest garden. Because they have limited land, so they often very frugally and efficiently recycle their energy and resources. And this is still being visible in some remote and undisturbed regions in China. And I recommend these two books, Farmers of 40 Centuries, or Permanent Agriculture in China, Korea, and Japan, written by an American in 1911, and another book, One Straw Revolution. So my quote, I would like to highlight that nature as grasped by philosophical knowledge is a theory created out of human speculation, a ghost with a soul, but no structure. Nature as grasped by scientific knowledge is a nature which has been destroyed, but it is a ghost possessing a skeleton, but no soul. So these East and West ideas about nature and how nature is grasped, written in Masanobu Fukuoka's One Straw Revolution. He is a from Japan and really using the Taoist view to do farming, to do nature farming. And I would like to say that we need both soul and skeleton for healthy functioning of any self and earth. So not only the Eastern ideas, holistic understanding of nature, but also scientific research and permaculture principles to scientifically design ecosystems.
Cho Chang, I think you have to come to an end soon, but we will definitely talk more about it later. Okay.
So I would like to finish this and I can talk more later.
Yes, sure.
So this is in 1986 on China's journal People's Daily. A professor already say forest is the core of agroecology. So yes, so I would talk about the cases later.
Yeah, sure. Thanks a lot. So next I would like to invite Thomas to share his slides. And I think you have to stop your screen sharing. Thank you. Thomas? Are you ready, Thomas? I can't hear you.
Yeah, we cannot hear Thomas. I will call Thomas by phone and then we can maybe use this way to broadcast Thomas. No, we cannot hear you. Maybe you can talk through my phone.
Moi, je vous entends et je vous vois bien. Je pensais que ça marchait.
No, it's not working.
Oh, should we try again?
I can hear you now. You can, yeah. Maybe if you can share.
Should I talk like this then?
Yeah, you can share your screen.
Okay. Alors,
Stefan, is that okay that way?
Yeah, so far it works. Just, yeah, let's wait and see if Thomas can share his screen.
Wait.
Maybe we can ask children to continue a little, waiting for Doma.
Can you see my screen?
No, we cannot see your screen. That's weird.
We have an echo.
Yeah, there is also an echo. Or maybe Cho-chan can follow a little and then you send me your.
Okay. Can you hear me now? Oh yeah. I'm screen sharing. You can see, right?
Yes, we hear you.
So I will continue with some cases. So first of all, just a case on Inner Mongolia. You see on my left photo, the top area. So China has still a lot of forests that is still fertile. And this is my friend. She's a female entrepreneur. Her name is Willow. And this project is to using the natural resources in the forests, but to provide ecological produce ecological products and linking that to the urban people. So the herbal distillates of wild pine needles. Thomas
I think
has
Thomas is trying to share his screen.
I think the connection of Thomas is not good.
It's okay, Chotan, you can keep going, and I will share pics of Thomas later.
Okay.
Okay.
So do you still see my slide?
No, you still to share again your screen.
I cannot find how to share it. I don't have the place to click the sharing.
Maybe now is okay. Oh.
So Claire, you have something to share from Thomas?
Not yet, not yet. I can share. I can share my part eventually, but maybe if Chochan wants to keep going, we can.
So I think Thomas is sharing the screen, so I don't see where I could click to share it.
Normally, I stop his sharing. Linje, do you know how to manage this?
I will try to, okay, with Doma.
Doma is not sharing anymore.
Okay,
yeah.
so okay, Doma is not sharing anymore, and maybe Chilton, you can try again for sharing. No.
Oh, I found it. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So they collect wild Chinese herb. Some of them are medicinal, and including the pine needles from the forests. These are the photos of men and women of Willow's crew who work in the forests, and they produce the wild pine needle herbal distillates. So basically, on the right, it's how they market their products. It's quite internal because they market on their WeChat friends feeds. So a lot of this information are truly not available to the Westerners. They also have Weibo, which is like Chinese Twitter, but they won't market them so completely. They collect wild rose, and this is the pine nuts from the wild pines. So this is truly a good ecosystem from the forests in China. And these products she mailed to me in Hangzhou. I could use the flavor of wild pine needles in Daxing-Anling, the forest, and spray it at my living space. And I can smell the scent of the wild pine and the soil. And it's truly a very good way to regulate your air conditioning at home. It's much nicer, I would say, to guard your body and to fight pandemic, for example, using the clean, scented air from healthy ecosystems. And second case, this is in Xinjiang province, the West China, which are a lot of deserts. But this new farmer called Dun Zhi, he began on this 166 acres land of desert, and he grew mainly Chinese juju and goji berry. So in 2008, the land was like that, like a forest, but now 2020, 12 years later, it's truly a forest garden. And these are the photos he has, and he's making profits from the main produce of juju, very, very good quality Chinese juju and goji berry. And he truly proves that forest gardens can even be thriving in deserts. So the lands around his forest garden are still deserts, but the 166 acres land has become a forest garden, truly like a paradise. And professors would bring their students to visit as an eco tour for nature education. And this is like a homestead called Rebirths in Jiangxi, Ganzhou, and it's just a family who returned to the countryside. And in 2015 to 2020, they had some land, and using permaculture principles, and they want just to experiment and lived in the countryside and transform the landscape. So a lot of initiatives in China are happening, including this kind of ecological restoration, but also it's profit making as well. And for nurturing good ecosystems in both the forests that is not being destroyed or the desert for ecological restoration. And the last cases are about cities. So this is Tianjin urban food forest, the first one, Looping Nature, established in 2020. It's a collaborative project between nonprofit called Looping Nature, founded by Li Juan, my student who participated in SMART project. We had sustainable eco-agri-food tour in Taiwan, United States, in China, Yunnan. So she's now building the first urban food forest collaboratively with the local government and volunteers that she and her crew recruited. And in Shanghai, there are a lot of community gardens. Shanghai Community Garden Map, and I'm on the board for Shanghai Community Gardening Shanghai 社区环境促进会 board, yes. And we have a project called Shanghai 2040 Food Forest Projects. So basically in a lot of tiny neighborhoods of Shanghai, food forests or forest gardens could be initiated by the local 街道, the local very grassroots level government, or the community citizens, or the company who want a forest garden in their area, or the landscaping company. So it's a collaborative project, and the vision is that by 2040, Shanghai has 2,040 food forests or forest garden or community gardens on the rooftop or on the ground or inside school gardens or just anywhere. And these places are pockets for community members to learn nature, to get close to nature, and for children to connect with food, to learn how to cook and to touch plants from seed to flower or to food to eat. And it's good for also recycling the food scraps back to soil using compost. Yeah, these are the different types of cases that I'm sharing, and I think I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. So you want to share now or afterwards, right?
Me?
Yeah.
I finished my thoughts. I finished my talk.
Okay.
I think if maybe we can try to have Thomas sharing his slides again, or maybe Claire, you would like to share something?
Yeah, I will share something. I would like to talk about two small things before Thomas is talking, because he's trying to connect again. So I would like to try about the different objectives a food forest can have, because we are often talking about like a private or maybe public food forest. In this peak is Bacon Food Forest in the USA. So that's a collective food forest, and every month you have some work parties where more than 100 people are joining together to plant, grow food, harvest, and it's creating some social link. So this purpose is very specific. So here you have many different objectives to a food forest. On the top left, it's an experimental food forest in France called Forêt Gourmande, and it has more than 1,000 edible species over 2 hectares. So that's for experimentation, for observation, seeing good plant associations, and so on. And on the top right, you have a collective food forest in Taiwan. It's for educational purpose and social link, because it's a very crowded area where people can learn a lot of things. On the bottom left, you have a commercial food forest in Netherlands. It's like a farm, but the farmer is selling some stuff from the food forest, from trees, for perennial shrubs, ground cover crops, and so on. And on the bottom right, you have an edible landscape in Tokyo. So it's like a park, basically. People, they can enjoy the area, but they cannot harvest. That's the pity. So that's different objectives to the food forest. And regarding the park, so we can imagine that the future parks of our cities are our edible forest garden. Before, we all know the traditional park. It's coming from Great Britain. It's called the Birkenhead Park. At the beginning, it was a very well organized place, very clean. It's a conformity-based model. And now we have the new generation park, like the one in Tokyo, is a diversity-based model with a lot of plants working in symbiosis. And the people, they can touch, they can smell, they can taste, harvest. It's amazing. They are active of the place. Same example here on this public area in the middle of a big city. It's becoming a place with a lot of biodiversity, and people, they are active of the place. They are participating. So they organize some educational activities to learn how to compost garbage, how to compost, organic waste, how to do some cosmetic. Is also a very good opportunity for schools or workers from companies to have outdoor activities, and also a good opportunity for the city government to communicate on their actions for environment. And in France, we can figure out that public food forest projects are increasingly growing. Every month, we can figure out a new project is appearing. We set up a map, and we can see that this concept is spreading very quickly. And the second things I would like to share is that food forests can bring a lot of new colors and taste in our food. For example, everybody know about tofu, especially Chinese friends. And tofu is usually coming from soybean, right? And we can find some food forest alternative with perennial shrubs, for example, pigeon peas for tropical climate, or Siberian peas for cold climate. And it's a very nice alternative to tofu more ecological friendly and very resilient. And the food forest is also a nice place to do a lot of cool experimentation, like the fermented sparkling drinks from the flowers, the fruits, the fruit peelings, the aromatic. You can make some vine fruits or some medicinal herbal beer or some soda. So it's healthy, it's cheap, it's fun to do. It's a nice alternative to soda chemicals from the supermarket. And here, like Lincoln was saying previously with the acorn, usually in our daily diet, most of the calories, they are coming from monoculture and from annual crops. But we can have more calories coming from trees, like we can do some walnut vegan cheese or some acorn balls or some smoothie balls, very energetic from service berries, or some raw vegan desserts from medlars, walnut, and a lot of different fruits. So that's amazing to see the possibilities that food forest can bring to us. And now maybe I will try to call Thomas, if he can share something to us. So I'm trying to call him. Hello, Thomas, can you share with us? Yeah, I don't know if it's working.
Send you a few pics.
Okay. So you can start talking, everybody is listening.
Okay. Really sorry about this nightmare of an internet connection I had. So my name is Thomas Regnault. I'm French, and I've been really passionate about forest gardens for about 6 years now, and I'm trying to promote them as much as I can in different ways. First, by making films, because I'm a filmmaker. So this is a picture that you see on the screen of a film I'm currently working on, which is going to be called Edible Landscapes. And this film explores the potential of not too fast, Claire.
Yes.
The potential of forest gardens in temperate climate, but more importantly, in very different contexts and situations. So this first picture was taken in an elementary school in France, where a forest garden has been planted to serve as an educational tool for children. So what it means is that teachers from the school came together to present forest gardening to the kids in their own way for each of them. So, for example, the science teacher obviously talked about observing the soil and life and botanics and so on. But the math teacher, you have a picture of that actually, Claire, used tree spacing and light requirements of plants as an exercise to learn about measurement techniques. And then the French teacher explored the theme of forests and of the environment in French literature. And what else? Yeah, the geography and history teacher also used this subject to teach the kids about the way the first people the people living within the first forest gardens in history used to eat. So it's really being used as a multifunctional educational tool. If you can move on to another picture, Claire. Yes, this is a picture taken in Holland, where more and more forest gardens are being planted for commercial purpose. There's a foundation in Holland which has first experimented, which is now helping other farmers plant what they call rational food forests. So it means basically that plants are planted in rows rather than in a jungle type pattern. So it's a little bit more optimized than some of the food forests we've seen so far, but it's still a forest garden in the sense that there's a big diversity, and also well, none of the conventional orchard management techniques are applied. So there's no weeding, there's no fertilization. It's all provided by system plants like nitrogen fixing trees or plants. So it's really a forest garden, but just a little bit more optimized for production, for harvest, for marketing. A good portion of the plants grown have already a commercial potential. And this new picture was taken in an arboretum with one of the biggest oak collection in the world, because as some of the previous speakers, I'm also very, very interested in the potential of acorns for human food. And the founder of this arboretum, Béatrice Chassé, talks in the film about the history of the consumption of acorns. We can find oaks in all of the northern hemisphere, and they have been used as a staple food everywhere in that range. Acorn consumption has disappeared in most of that area, but it has still survived in a few places, Korea being probably the most important one, and also Portugal, Spain, and Greece. This new picture is a research and experimental project in the northeast of France, where forest gardens are used to reclaim very degraded and very polluted soils. So this site that you can see on the picture is the site of a former blast furnace. So that's a place where metal is being produced. And this site was closed 30 years ago and has been abandoned since then, which means that you can see pioneer vegetation of all sorts came back. So the goal of this study is to identify crops that can be grown in polluted situations. So what's the organization Forêts Gourmandes, which Claire and I are part of, is working hand in hand with a soil microbiologist in this project, and her role is going to analyze not only the soil but the biomass, not of the plants that grow there on their own, and all the plants we are going to introduce. So we are going to plant fruit trees, perennial plants, shrubs, but also annual vegetables, and beehives are also going to be introduced. And all of these crops are going to be analyzed so that we can know how much the plants absorb in terms of pollutants, and where in their biomass they store it. And if what we hope to find is that, for example, a given plant will pollutants in parts of its structure that we do not eat. So, for example, if a fruit tree stores pollutants in its leaves or seeds, but not in the fruit itself, not in the flesh of the fruit, it means we can still eat it. And the same way, plants that have a potential for fiber or fuel are also on the list of plants that are going to be studied. And Sonia, the scientist, has already started to work with miscanthus, which you might know. It's planted on vast areas right now for biomass, more and more. And what she already knows about miscanthus is that it only stores heavy metals in its rhizomes, but not in the upper ground biomass, which is what we do harvest for to produce mulch or fuel or livestock litter as well. So what it means is that after a few years of accumulating the metals in its rhizomes, the rhizomes can then be harvested so that the pollutants are taken out of the soil, and then it is possible to recover them because they accumulate in the ashes when you burn a biomass that contains heavy metals, and it's already possible to recover lead, zinc, and copper in this way. And that's also a goal of the study. It's to recover pollutants and especially metals to then reuse them in various industrial applications.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. I think we are going already. We are already exceed the time of 1 hour, but we still are going to take some time for the questions. Maybe Stefan, you can pick up some questions for our speakers.
But so what's the situation with Thomas now? You think there's a way he can still be part of the discussion, or?
Yeah, I think it's okay. We are on the phone.
I can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
So the first question would actually address all of you. So the first question would be basically to introduce the situation of food forests in your country in terms of popularity, application, and also fundings. And maybe I would like to ask Lincoln if he maybe would be the first person to share his answer.
Well, it's a big question, so I'll just give a quick thought that the popularity is growing, but there are not very many strong structures supporting the growth of forest gardens yet, but people are working on it. So, for example, public food forests are growing, but the public entities need to know how to take care of these. And your average staff on the crew taking care of public landscapes may not know about food forests. So I've encouraged some of my clients who are public government people to start hiring people who are familiar with forest gardens when they are hiring people for their staff. But the movement is growing.
Okay, thanks a lot. And Cheng Chiu, so you already mentioned that food forests already have kind of tradition in mainland China. So what do you think is the current situation in China? Sorry, we cannot hear you because your microphone is not on.
Are you talking about the current situation of food forestry movement or China's agriculture?
Food forest movement in China.
Okay. So the concept of food forests was the terminology food forest translated literally as 食物森林was becoming popular since 2017. But before that, it was also imported from Taiwan to the mainland China. So there's always some permacultural educators in China who taught about permaculture and food forest before 2017. But the terminology food forest or forest garden or forest agroecology becoming very popular since 2017 and more popular now. As people know about forest garden in Chinese 森林花园 and our food forest 食物森林, it brings people very nice imagination. And more and more educators are truly needed to incorporate this idea into natural farming or school garden or ecological agriculture movement in China. I think what's really important for China to have more forest garden or food forest in reality, rather than in like the words in online or in ideas, but in reality, what is needed is to teach how to build food forests. And today our talk is really important because you really need to be very knowledgeable about the permaculture principles in order to design ecosystems. And you are like a manager for an ecosystem that's biodiverse life. You manage so many different living systems. It's not just to grow food, but different layers of food. You need like an architectural design. And it's very difficult for just one person to learn all of that, what plants could be incorporated in different areas of China to grow what plants in food forests. This kind of information is truly needed. And I think like companion planting, and I would love the French people like Claire, you could teach us from France. And we have a lot of plants in China, like the plants database. It's also needed. A lot of people who are interested in forest garden ideas are women, who, for example,
maybe
okay.
As you just mentioned it, and a lot of people are women, and especially people from France are very knowledgeable. Maybe we give Thomas a chance to also answer, as he's a guy and he's from France. So maybe.
So you want to know about the situation in France, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So the demand is huge and it's increasing. I estimate that over the past 2 or 3 years, there have been hundreds of new forest gardens being planted. And it's mostly on rather small surfaces and on private land. So people planting a forest garden in their backyard for the most part. What we are working on increasing and promoting is other types of forest gardens in the public space and also in the professional sector, so commercial food forest. This is quite slow to take on for now, but there is more interest as well, and I think it's going to increase in the coming years. Yeah, but the overall demand on the subject is really huge, and to an extent, the development of forest gardens can benefit from tree planting funding schemes, and also a general enthusiasm of the public for planting more trees and greening cities and so on. So there's if we play it strategically, there's really it can really be quite fast. It can go fast. plant a lot more forest gardens. It's the perfect time to.
Thanks. Great answer. So now I have a question for each of you, a different question, and I would start with Lincoln again, who is also a food forest designer. So I would like to ask you how to start a food forest.
Okay, again, a big question. I'll say quickly. Just getting started. I think I will speak more on the social level than the horticulture side. Many of the forest gardens I've been involved with have taken as much as a year of planning and outreach. So count on a lot of outreach and collaboration. I don't know, I'll show a slide or two here, but only briefly. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so it takes a lot of talking to educate people about this. So count on that and do it, and you'll get many rewards from this because you'll get many helpers. So rather than just simply begin planting trees, if you bring people in, you'll have a stronger project. Land access is a problem around me and probably where a lot of you live too. This is the location where I am. You can see the forest garden is where orange. We have heavy development pressure, and this is true across many parts of the world. I am renting this land from a church that owned the land since the 1960s before development became heavy. So I would say you may have to be creative about accessing land when you want to start your forest garden. But if you work on the relationships and you're patient to talk, like in my case, I had to talk for a year before I was allowed to begin my project. But I am glad that I did that because now many people understand the project and support it. But the land access can be a problem, but there is land if you are persistent. And finally, that forest garden, when you're starting, it's wonderful to put the plants in the ground, but I think it is a long-term thing. And a part of our culture, at least in the United States, is that people will live in a place for a few years and then move across the country, move here, move there. We need people who are rooted in one place. A forest garden is a multi-generational relearning of how to work with our local ecosystem. And I think it is not ideal that a person is uprooted every few years if they want to grow a forest garden. I think it is good to share information, but a forest garden needs some people that are going to be committed to one location to really get that local soil and that local ecosystem into their consciousness over many decades, because that is necessary for ecosystem reintegration, for local people to have strong local knowledge and experience with their local conditions. There's much, I could go on for hours, but I'll leave it there.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Great answer. So next question would be to Thomas. As he mentioned that there are so many food forests in France already, I am wondering if he can give us an idea about the obstacles and challenges people face starting food forest projects.
Yes, yes, I think, well, as Lincoln says, that a lot goes into getting started, and I would say one of the main challenges I've had is, first of all, to do it all by myself, because it can be quite overwhelming to learn everything you need to know to do it right the first time. So we definitely advise to form a team or to work with more people. And also when you set some goals, it can be a challenge to provide the adequate energy and resources that match not only the goals you have, but also the pace at which you want to reach them. So, for example, if you if you plant things that will absolutely need watering in the first years, you need to take that into account and plan for watering and potentially mulching and so on. So yes, I think that's something I've encountered personally. Failing to properly plan for the required energy and resources that match the goals I had.
Thanks. So what you both have pointed out is that it's very important to bring people together and to engage them into the project. And as Cheung-Chio before also mentioned the point of education, I would like to ask you, what do you think are the keys to engage people in a food forest project?
Can I first respond to the problem about land that Lincoln just raised? Because I think land was an issue for a lot of places.
Okay, sure.
Okay, yes, so that relates to several concepts. One is private property, someone own property of some land. The other is land grabbing and political ecology. So when we say ecology want to build ecosystem, we think it's like a natural science aspect, but actually political ecology, really nature is competed. Different stakeholders are competing to use nature differently. Some view nature as money-making tools and machine. Some view nature as good biodiverse paradise where I retire and have my vacations, or and some people like us, we love nature and we want to live in nature, in harmony with nature and all different kinds of life, plants, animals, microbiomes, fungi. So different people view nature differently, and that's a political problem. And most of us, we ecologists or natural scientists or activists who want to build ecosystems, we are lacking this kind of political thinking to negotiate with different stakeholders to question their behavior and to get the rights as Earth citizens to use nature resources, because air, water, and soil is public and it cannot be used by privately owned to earn money. And how that is written by lawyers of whatever that country is, I think it's questionable, and we need to debate about property rights on someone to own that land. So that is political ecology. And for China, I think a very good concept to promote food forest is called co-governed landscaping. So in Shanghai, the community garden movement, Professor Liu Yuelai called 共治的景观. So landscapes should be co-governed or co-managed by people who share the landscapes. Why should just some landscaping company or some governors decide the landscapes for people who live there? The community members should have at least the rights to speak, to decide collaboratively about the environment they live in. And another is to community building, because food forest is not just to build environment or ecosystem, it's about repairing the relationship between human beings. So I think every community food forest or any ecosystem, it's about the relationship between nature and the human and being human.
You mentioned community building. Can you maybe share your experience about how to build a community around food forests?
Yes, I think to build community is very, very challenging, especially in China. because most people, their boundary of their own space is just their own family, their core nuclear family. And the concept of community, originally Chinese as an agricultural society, the entire village worked together to farm, to at least harvest rice together. Together, this entire village as a community. And how could that village now be, that concept of community now completely destroyed because of urbanization? So many migrants from rural countryside to cities to seek jobs, to work for the capitalists, to some industries, to earn money. And they are quite alone in the cities. It's how to build community. I think first to have friendship, to respect them, to develop relationship with people who live around you, like your neighbor. I had a Pakistani neighbor who lived on the 13th floor. I live on 5th floor, and he works in Zhejiang University. And he's like the first Pakistani in Zhejiang University. And I met him in the elevator and I talked to him. And I think he's quite interesting because he studied environmental science. And maybe we could collaboratively build a co-op to collectively grow some plants. And downstairs, I have a wet market, a grocery market. I met my holistic well-being professional who's selling grocery at the market. And she really is knowledgeable about nutrition. And she come to my studio to cook together. And now we could collaboratively heal people using food, to use food as a medicine to cure people.
Sounds
so
great.
Now, yeah, so in my community, I gradually know people, like another woman who make buns every day from 2 a.m. Making buns and selling buns. And she doesn't know anything about rice because she came from Hubei province, and she just gets the flour from some company and to make bun every day. But now we chatted and she learned that, oh, this lady can have some eco-venture tours around Hangzhou to see rice seedlings and to visit agriculture fields. So we now more and more activities could happen.
Yes.
Either we cook together or we visit the tea village in Hangzhou, Longwu, or the tea plantations or new nature education sites, or even factory farming for cow milk in Wenzhou. That's also very close to Hangzhou, just like a few half-an-hour high-speed train distance. And I plan to just organize activities to connect people. Mm-hmm. In China, building relationship with people, you need to be open-minded. You need to respect others, because everyone has their own life history and everyone has their trauma because of the histories. Every family has their trauma and they usually don't open up. They won't say the truth. A lot of things are hiding beneath the skin. And I think this is everywhere in the world. Everyone has trauma.
Yes.
Thanks.
So
yeah.
I'm wondering if Lincoln can relate to this and thinks that there are some similarities comparing with the US.
Yeah, it's pretty neat to hear, because we face the same challenges here with community, and people are isolated in today's world, I think more so than in the time of perhaps our ancestors a few generations back. I have heard that people have many fewer close friends than they did. So forest gardens are a community effort, and as such, you need a community to make them happen, and that's a rebuilding process in a lot of ways. So it's great to hear from all of you on this. It was great having Chen around Forested for a few years, because she is a connector. When she says, I'd like to bring some people to the forest garden, she brings like 80 people. So it's very good to have your community building people. I just hang out and plant trees, and eventually people show up, but we need connectors also. So I think it can happen, but it quickly goes beyond horticulture to human level issues. Plants are easier than people.
Thank you. Maybe Claire, you want to say something?
Yeah, I think we can stop around 6 p.m. if everybody agree. So we still have 5 minutes together, and we had a few questions in the chat. Maybe I can ask one of them. That will be, do you have an idea about the efficiency of food forest compared to industrialized food products, such as food production quantity or land use?
I've done some research on the productivity of acorn as one example, and its yield, if you did a very industrial sort of monoculture version of acorn, the yield can be similar to wheat, which is the world's most widely grown crop by acreage. However, I think there is the potential, instead of doing a monoculture, to grow multi-crops in the same acreage and therefore have a stronger yield, but obviously this is more labor intensive. Industrial agriculture is all about getting the people out of the system. So I can't give a good answer on how forest gardening will become the dominant way of producing food for everybody. It's still a lot. We still have a lot to learn on that.
Yeah, I read also that maybe 10 oak trees will be enough to feed one people for 1 year, because 100 grams of acorn, it's like 600 kilocalories. So it's very nutritive food, actually.
Yeah. In California, most of the calories being eaten in California by Native Americans prior to the arrival of white people, more than half of the calories were acorn food.
Maybe we can take one more question. Stefan, do you have one more question for one of the speakers?
I'm not sure. Maybe if we only have 3 minutes left, it's maybe good to close the discussion with maybe kind of a conclusion. What's the global trend, and maybe a kind of like idea of the future development of food forest movement worldwide? What do you think? Maybe.
Yeah, maybe we can ask every speaker where we can follow them and answer quickly to your question.
Mm-hmm. Maybe is Thomas still there? Maybe he can start.
Yeah, Thomas is here. Yeah.
Yes.
Do you want to answer, Thomas?
Yes. So where can people follow my work? Is that it?
Yeah, and also Stefan question. Stefan, you can ask again.
So the question was, how do you see the global trend of food forests and the future development?
It's going to grow for sure. I think the challenge is to make it truly accessible to everybody. And what I mean by that is that, of course, more and more people who own land already might be interested in planting forest gardens, but there's also people who don't own land, who never will, and who deserve to eat more sustainably produced food. So I think one big challenge, in my opinion, is to make forest garden foods available and accessible to every eater on Earth, including people who don't have land nor much time to change their habits. Yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you, Thomas.
Sure.
So maybe Lincoln, do you want to answer?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's a very exciting time to be doing forest gardening, and it's going to be easier in some ways than it was 20 years ago, because you can go to existing forest gardens and existing forest gardeners to help give you encouragement and knowledge to get started. And that is one of the main reasons that a lot of us begin our forest gardens, is to provide that encouragement and that support. So from that point of view, if anybody would like to come visit the forest garden, if you're in the Eastern United States here in Bowie, I'm always glad to welcome people. You know, come try some fruit and see what you want to grow in your own forest garden. So I think we do, a lot of people are asking how we scale this up, how we make it efficient enough, but still ecologically functional. So come visit the forest garden in Bowie, and we'll talk about that for about 3 days. It's a good topic.
Thanks.
Zhou Cheng,
yes. I would like to tell 2 points. First is, I think it's very crucial to connect food, diet with agriculture, how food was grown from the field. So most people who eat food don't know how and where food comes from. And food culture, contemporary food culture and the health was really problematic. And that's a big challenge for health professionals. But health professionals also don't know how to heal people holistically, because they don't have a systems view of life. They don't understand ecosystems, that land, soil, water, air we breathe, and our human body, the complete and holistic functioning and health, well-being is related, and it's all interconnected. So I will, as a food scholar who studies at NYU and research food culture, I will link the diet, food culture to have that movement, health movement. In China, we call 大健康, big health industry, with the agroecology movement, permaculture movement, and food forestry movement. That is first point. And the second point, my plan is to guide, nurture, and cultivate relationship and the living systems. So for China, I have a lot of different collaborators in different parts of China. Like in Hangzhou, I initiated project Forest Hangzhou, and in Nanjing, Forest Nanjing, in Yunnan, Forest Yunnan. Every region, we are going to forest that region. We create an imagination, create this vision, and we can have volunteers who share their minds, who share their dreams with us, and we gradually nurture and heal the relationships, the historical trauma, and to have more healthy human beings and healthy families. So we could be connected also regionally. And for forested, we plan to do virtual online courses as well to co-work, to co-create these international holistic healing online courses. So from the health perspective, like what is medicine? In Chinese, medicine was written as grass or plant on top and happiness on the bottom. That is medicine, plant and happiness. But now what is medicine? The medicine is what? That is our online courses we are going to produce collaboratively with live mentors with forested. And if you are interested in collaborating with me and forested crew members around the world, including Lingjie and Clad, they are all forested crew. So feel free to contact us. And I hope our education can truly make impacts in paradigm shifting the culture of the earth, because everyone is earth citizen.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Georgia.
Yes.
It's time to end, and you had a very good suggestion. Today, purpose is also to do a bigger network, because it's very important to do some networking. So I saw some suggestion about creating new social networks, maybe on a Clubhouse and WeChat, etc. So let's do this. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you, Stefan, for hosting. Thank you, Lincoln. Thank you, George, and thank you, Thomas. We will follow you. If you have a few minutes, you can just take a few seconds to fill the survey of TESFEC and tell us if you like this kind of event, if you would like we organize more, and if you want we organize more, what are your main questions? Feel free to answer, and I will tell everybody happy Arbor Day, 这树节快乐，种树。Plant a lot of trees, and see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for Chester for the translation. Excellent job. Thank you. Thank you for every speaker. Thanks. See you next time. And don't forget, to check the video on YouTube or Bilibili later. We will upload the video to the site.
We will send the link of the video to all the registering people.
Right. Okay. So have a nice evening or a nice day. I don't know. Just have a good day and see you maybe next time. Bye.
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 Tu m'entends, Claire?
Ouais.